Everyone. Hope everyone is enjoying their day today. We are into round 5 now, so I finally can see the end of the tunnel here a bit. So we have made some progress with the videos here. So yeah, this video is going to be two of the games I cut short by being abandoned. Yeah, I know I said I wasn't going to like do analysis for the games that got abandoned, but this round we had two games that were abandoned and looked both like something. There was some instructive elements to both of the games, so I did want to make a video for you guys for these two. So the first game we're going to look at, we have Vincent with the white pieces and Jonathan with the black pieces. And then the second game we're going to look at was also was a pretty interesting game. I really was sad that it got abandoned, but the next game we're going to look at is Jolie has the white pieces versus Steven with the black pieces. So yeah, so let's just get started with this. So here we had e4. So again, attacking the d5 square, allowing our bishop and queen to get developed. E5, knight f3. So yeah, so the knight's attacking these two central squares, trying to take the pawn on e5, which is undefended. So here Jonathan played bishop c5. So again, yeah, Jonathan is just going for the 4-move checkmate basically every game. I don't exactly know how to talk him out of this habit. But I think the reason why I'm not going to be successful in talking about this is because it seems to be working a pretty high percentage. So that means I'm not really teaching the kids well enough how to defend against the 4-move checkmate. So yeah, so I'm a little frustrated that I'm not able to do a better job about this. But yeah, let's just go through the game. So Vincent played knight takes e5, which is an excellent move, right? He had a threat of taking the e5 pawn, and his opponent, in this case Jonathan, didn't defend the e5 pawn. So if we're going to make a threat and our opponent doesn't defend against it, if there's not a really good reason why, we probably should follow through with our threat. So yeah, here we just want a free central pawn, and our knight is on a good square on e5. So we're here at queen f6. So yeah, so Jonathan's idea is quite concrete here. He's threatening to win the pawn with the queen and give a checkmate, since he has two attackers and only one defender. And yeah, once again, the f2 and the f7 square are the weakest squares on the chessboard. And most vulnerable to be attacked because only the king is defending them. So here there was quite a few choices that Vincent could have made. I think the most logical move by far here is just to play d4. So the idea behind d4 is we're blocking the diagonal. So as long as we block the diagonal, then notice that the bishop is not attacking the f2 pawn anymore. So here if the queen took on f2, we'll just take the queen because the bishop's not defending the queen anymore. And another reason why I like d4 is we're also creating a threat. So here we're threatening to win the bishop, and we're also defending our knight. So I think d4 is by far the cleanest move here. It also allows our dark square bishop to get developed at some point in the game. I don't know like what the best square will be. That's going to depend on what black decides to do. But it does allow our dark square bishop to get developed. Okay, yeah. So here we have f4. So f4 has a similar idea, but it's not as good because the pawn is just hanging. So yeah, Jonathan would have just took the pawn, and this might have been interesting. Although here, here this is just good for black. Like I was thinking about knight d3, but the problem with knight d3, which looks like a good move, right? Because it attacks the bishop, it attacks the queen, and most importantly, it guards the f2 square. Is that after queen takes e4, I think that black is quite fine here, and probably just a bit better. So yeah, so I think d4 was much better, but okay, f4. So here we had queen h4. Yeah, so I think queen h4 is much worse than just taking the pawn here. That's a free pawn. So here we have a check, and yeah, this is how I know that my students don't listen to me as much as I would like them to. So I always try to talk to them about the 3 ways to get a check, and they must have heard this many times now. So we always talk about move, block, or capture, right? So basically what that means is that we can either move to our king to safety when we're in check. We can block, which means we put a piece on this, in this case, on these two squares, one of these two squares on the diagonal, if possible, or capture. So we try to see if we can take the queen. So we can't take the queen, so we can eliminate capture. There's no way to capture the queen. But we shouldn't just be instinctively moving the king. We should always be thinking about all our options. So move, block, capture. So I have a feeling that Vincent didn't even consider blocking here. So if he would have played g3, blocking and attacking the queen, now I think white is just much better. So we're attacking the queen. So this is called a tempo move, right? Whenever a lower valued piece attacks a higher valued piece. Sorry, I didn't mean to make that move. And yeah, here we have the least valued piece, which is the pawn, attacking the most valued piece, which is the queen. So this would have just been excellent. And then also we're guarding the f4 pawn. So if the black queen decides to take on f4 now, they'll once again lose their queen for the pawn. So essentially the queen's going to have to retreat here. It can't really stay on the h file except for h6. If it goes h5, the queen will take. If it goes to h3, the bishop will take. And after a move like queen h6, this is very, very dangerous for black because here we have this move d4 again. So once again, we're attacking the bishop. And then another thing is we're opening up this diagonal for our bishop. So say if the so say I don't know where the bishop will go. Like probably you guys are maybe thinking bishop b4 giving a check, but that just allows c3, which is another tempo move. So here we block the check once again. So remember, move, block, capture. So we can't capture the bishop. We could move the king, but we don't want to give up our right to castle. So we play c3, which blocks the diagonal. And also we're creating a threat. So we're attacking the bishop. So let's say the bishop moves again. And then after something like, I don't know if f5, I'm not saying f5 is the best move, but let's just say f5. Here we're creating a threat of attacking the queen already with our bishop. And now we just have a really dominant center. You can see all of our pawns in the center. And the f pawn is very advanced. So the f pawn is not actually in the center, but it's a very good pawn because it's far up the board, and it's also attacking some good squares in the black position. And our knight on f3 is just, or I'm sorry, our knight on e5 is just very, very well placed. So if we could play something like bishop c4, targeting the f7 square, that would be also really good. And here we have the threat of just playing bishop takes queen. So yeah, already black would have to be extremely careful in this position. So yeah, when you're playing the white pieces, if your opponent's just attacking you like right from the beginning of the game, then that's a good indication that something went wrong. Your opponent shouldn't be able to attack you so quickly. So queen f2, yeah. So Jonathan was able to get to this weak f2 square, and yeah, once again, it's only because Vincent forgot his options here, right? So I think that's one of the reasons why I really recommend that people learn chess, is just because it helps you with things that will also help you in life, right? Always being able to figure out all of your options and what's available to you. So yeah, here if we would have considered blocking with g3, we have a good game. But once again, I think Vincent maybe forgot about that possibility, and he just moved the king. And now his king is stuck in the center. The bishop and queen are able to get access to the f2 square, which is what Jonathan wanted. And yeah, so now we have just a really bad position. So knight f6. Also, Jonathan could have played. Actually, just queen takes e4 is checkmate here, right? So this would have been the best move. So he played queen takes e4. The king can't move to f2 because of the bishop. It can't move to these three squares because of the queen, and then also e3 because of the bishop. And it can't move to e1 because of the queen. White cannot capture the queen. It's nice and safe here, and there's no way to block. So white doesn't have any piece that can move to the e3 square at the moment. So yeah, this would just be a checkmate. All right, so yeah, instead Jonathan played knight f6. So developing a piece, so knight f3. And then, yeah, once again, just queen takes e4 would have been checkmate. Yeah, so this move, knight takes e4, is just, this is just not good at all. Yeah, I gotta be honest, I am a little disappointed that, that the kids aren't starting to pick up. Like, one of the things we talk about is every time your opponent makes a move, try to figure out what their threat is. So I think it's just, it's really just a lack of paying attention, to be perfectly honest. Like, the move knight f3, the threat is to take the queen. And as black, we should just see this. Like, just have to ask yourself, why did my opponent move their knight here? And if you just ask yourself that question, see like what the knight's attacking, it becomes pretty clear that they want to win the queen. So yeah, we need to see this. This is this is not good. And then also, if we see our queen is attacked, we might find this queen takes e4 checkmate move again. So yeah, the goal of chess is to obviously capture your opponent's king. So this will give us a checkmate here. So yeah, so we can't do this move knight takes e4. So it seems like all that's happening is Jonathan moved his knight to f6. He saw that his threat was to take the e4 pawn. His opponent made a move. Jonathan noticed that that didn't defend the e4 square. He didn't ask himself like, what's the knight on f3 attacking, and he just took the pawn. So yeah, always ask yourself like. So just because your opponent didn't respond to your threat, always still ask yourself, like, what was the idea behind my opponent's last move? Because if we're winning the pawn with our knight and giving up our queen for that, that's obviously not a good trade for us, right? The queen is worth a lot more than this pawn. So yeah, we don't want to do that. So bishop takes d4. And then, yeah, here the game got abandoned. So Jonathan won it in this position, even though, yeah, so... yeah, we got a lot of work to do, to be perfectly honest. Like, this is, I hope the kids are watching the videos and trying to learn from what I'm trying to explain. And again, at the end of every class, I always ask the kids, like, if there's anything that they feel like we're not learning or talking about enough, to ask me. And I understand that's like difficult for a kid to do, but I really do hope that if there's something that you're like struggling with or not understanding, that you ask me. That's what my job is. And of course, I'm going to try to teach you during the classes, like what to do. But yeah, when I see a game like this, honestly, I think like Vincent and Jonathan, they should be much better than this. I think they are much better than this. So yeah, this was not I don't want to be mean spirited, and I want the kids to keep having the joy to learn. But we could play better than this, and I think we will. So yeah, we'll just keep working on this. Like we have to pay attention to if our pieces are safe, and what's our opponent's threat. That's always an important question to ask yourself. Yeah. So okay. So let's go on to Julia and not Julia. Jolie and Steven's game here. So let me just pull up the notation here real quick. Um, yeah, looks like we had a game between Open Quiet Cloud. I think that's Josen, and then Eileen had the black piece. It seemed like the game just got disconnected. So yeah, so if there's like no if there's no content at all, then there's obviously nothing to analyze. So we won't analyze that game. And then yeah, this game between Brian and Nathan was I will of course analyze this game, but this is a pretty long game, so I won't get to this one today. Probably tomorrow, maybe Monday, maybe not tomorrow. And then this is the game with Jolie that I want to look at. And then we also had a pretty um, oh, this game was only so is this it? So I have to do so after I analyze this game, then we just have the this one and okay. So yeah, I mean if we only have one game left, maybe I'll just try to get that last video done today actually. Um, or at the very least, I should be able to do it tomorrow. Just so the kids have all these games that they can go over and learn from. All right, so yeah, so here we have once again Jolie with the white pieces versus Steven with the black pieces, and yeah, I really feel bad once again that Jolie got disconnected because up until this point, I thought it was the best game I had ever seen her play, to be honest, and I thought she was just playing extremely well. And since Steven was going for a perfect score out of 5 out of 5, I would have really loved to have seen. If Jolie could have concluded the game with a victory because she had a good position here, I believe, at the end. All right, so let's just jump into it. So yeah, Jolie had the white pieces. So e4. Once again, we're attacking the d5 square, allowing the bishop and the queen to get developed. All right, c5 here, knight f3. So knight f3 is attacking the two center squares, and then knight c6. So remember, these two knights are mirrors when it comes to the center squares. So they're both on light squares right now, so they're going to attack the two dark squares in the center. So bishop b5. Okay, bishop b5 is excellent. I think this is the move that I believe signifies the Rossolimo attack. And this was actually played in at least one of the World Championship games in the last match between Caruana and Carlsen. So Jolie should Jolie and Steven should feel really happy, like they played like the first and second best player in the world up to this point. So yeah, that's cool. Like you guys only been. I think Steven's been playing chess for a bit, but I think Jolie's only been playing off and on for a short period of time. So already you're playing the moves of the world champion. And yeah, and just notice how simple it is, right? You got your pieces developed. You're attacking a knight, you're attacking the knight, which is controlling some central squares. That's it, right? Like I'd say, we get our pieces off the back rank. We try to control the center. We get our king safe. We got a good position. All right, so a6, very good move by Steven attacking the bishop. And then yeah, here we're like right in the Rossolimo attack still. So yeah, so here I think you're still playing like just like the world champion and the challenger. Okay, so take d3, excellent move. So yeah, yeah, there's a lot of grandmaster games that have gone just like this. So basically, since you got rid of your light square bishop, you want to putting the pawns on d3 and e4 makes a lot of sense. So we don't have a light square bishop anymore, so we want to clear a diagonal for our dark square bishop, and we want to make sure that since our light square bishop is gone, we don't have any weaknesses. So these pawns do a really good job of forming what's called the pawn chain. And yeah, it's going to be very difficult for black to challenge this. So g6. Yeah, I mean, I can't believe how good the kids are playing this game. This is just really, really nice. So the idea of g6 is we want to put the bishop on g7, and we're going to fianchetto our bishop. So yeah, so remember, these are the two longest diagonals on a chessboard. So yeah, if we can get our bishop onto like this diagonal, we have just a really good diagonal for our bishop since it controls a lot of squares. And also the bishop is quite open. There's no pieces on it now. So the bishop's going to have a lot of what they call scope. Scope just means it could attack pretty far. So the more scope you have, the more squares you're attacking. So that usually means your piece is better. There are some exceptions. Like sometimes your piece has a lot of scope, but there's absolutely nothing to attack at all on that diagonal, for example, or a file or a rank. So then you can have like a lot of scope and it doesn't actually mean that much. But generally having scope is a really good thing. All right, so castle, bishop g7. Excellent, excellent. So yeah, Jolie got her king safe on the sixth move. She has an obvious plan, like just getting her knight and her bishop developed. So yeah, so excellent. And yeah, I think that's what you're gonna find when you play against good players. Like just yeah, just and Jolie's obviously a good player. Steven has a little bit more experience, to be honest. But when you're playing good players, just don't give them anything, right? Just play according to the opening principles, and you'll be surprised. Like sometimes your opponent can get impatient, and just keep making solid moves. No matter who you're playing, no one likes to play against an opponent who just keeps making good moves over and over again. So that's all your goal is, right? Just look for your chances and then try to find logical moves, right? Moves that develop your pieces, control the center, and get your king safe. And that's basically it. You play like that, you'll have a chance to beat a lot of even really good players. H3, knight f6, so very good development. H3 is a nice move. I like that Jolie was thinking about how to restrict the bishop, so the bishop can't come to g4 now. And then also she gave an escape square for her king. So yeah, so basically, even though black has the two bishops, what white is trying to say in this position is that this light square bishop is not going to find a good home. So there's not going to be like a really good square for this bishop. It can't go to f5 or g4 because the white pawns would capture. So yeah, so white is just trying to say, yeah, you might have the two bishops, but I'm going to try to keep the position closed. And I'm just going to take advantage of the fact that your light square bishop doesn't have a very good square to move to. So knight c3, castle, bishop e3. Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Getting the pieces developed. This is just fantastic. We're creating a threat here, taking the pawn. Bishop takes c5. So yeah, black did not spot the threat here. And yeah, therefore Jolie's going to take advantage of that. So probably here, maybe something like knight d7 is a move to protect the pawn and also allow this bishop to have some activity. You also could consider b6, I believe. But then remember, every time you move a pawn, you weaken some squares. So if you play b6, the pawn on b7 was defending these two squares. So now after b6, you've weakened the c6 square because the pawn on b7 is now on b6, where it's not defending the c6 square. So yeah, we could try to take advantage of that. And I just think generally speaking, these pawns do seem like a little funny the way they're placed. So I have a feeling knight d7 might be the best move. Also maybe something like c4, maybe even just sacrificing a pawn might be interesting here. So yeah, there's a few possibilities, but yeah, I think bishop d7 just giving away the c5 pawn is wrong. And excellent job by Jolie spotting this idea. So here we had b6 attacking the bishop, bishop d4. I like bishop d4. I think bishop e3 is a little bit more accurate because yeah, bishop d4 you're allowing this c5 idea, attacking the bishop again. And now notice that these pawns are starting to gain some space. So so yeah, this is a tempo gaining move whenever a lower valued piece attacks a higher valued piece. But yeah, it looked like Jolie had an idea for this. She brought the bishop to e5. So I don't think bishop d4 is like a huge inaccuracy. Just I think bishop e3 might have been a little bit more precise. But yeah, I don't think it's one of those moves that's going to make a big, all these things do make, like, they add up to make a big difference in a chess game. But I think this plan alone wasn't like shouldn't be such a big deal on its own. So we had bishop e6. So yeah, so here I think the bishop should go to the c6. So the last two moves by black, they were able to kind of open up this diagonal for the bishop. So I think putting the bishop on c6 seems more logical to me. Yeah, bishop e6. I guess the idea is to push c4, I think. So I'm not really sure why the bishop went to e6 here. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about that. So queen d2. Another nice developing move by Jolie. So we always talk about in class that when the rooks get connected, that means your development is completed. And yeah, I think that the d2 square is a nice square for the queen. It can maybe go to f4 in the future. It's also protected right now by this knight, so you don't have to worry about like any pins. Like if, for example, if you're able to take, because if the queen takes, you could take back, and then you're also defending the c4 pawn. So yeah, so I think queen d2 is a really nice square for the queen. So yeah. Really nice move by Jolie. So rook c8, queen e3. Okay, so I think this was where she. I mean, no, queen e3 is not like a terrible move or anything like that, but I think it is just like a little imprecise. So I'm not sure exactly what the queen is trying to do from e3 that it's not doing from d2. So maybe here just something like rook a d1 and try to push the d4 pawn and kind of open up the center a bit. You generally wouldn't want to open up the center when your opponent has the two bishops, because bishops are really good in open positions where they have a lot of scope. But in this particular position, I think since you're up a pawn, you can try to open up the position a little bit and take advantage of that. And actually, as much as I kind of recommended bishop e3 over bishop d4, Jolie's bishop does look quite nice on e5. So as long as her bishop stays on e5, the bishop on g7 shouldn't pose too many problems. Like if the knight ever moves, for example, you just could trade the bishops off at the very least. And yeah, now there's no more two bishop advantage, and you just have a good position as white since you're up a pawn. Okay, queen e3, queen d7, a4. I really like this a4 move also. It doesn't attack the center squares, but since white's development is completed, they can start focusing on other parts of the board than the center. So yeah, the idea here of playing like a4 and maybe a5 and trying to soften these pawns up a bit seems like a really good plan to me. So yeah, I really like this a4 move here actually. I don't know if Jolie saw all the ideas behind it, but let's just give her credit and say she did. So yeah, so she's trying to play a5 at some point and just kind of, just letting these pawns know that white's going to fight for space also. So yeah, once again, like this would be a terrible move in the beginning of the game, but now that we have all of our pieces developed, so every piece is off the back rank, the rooks connected to each other, we can start focusing on other parts of the board than just the center here. So h6, yeah, h6 just seemed like a bit of an indecisive move from Steven here. I'm not really sure what it's doing. I guess he's worried about knight g5 maybe, but I don't really get it. So here we had knight e2. So I also like knight e2, maybe with the idea of bringing the knight to f4 or something. I'm not saying, I don't know if this is the best move, knight e2 in the position, but it does seem logical, right? Like Steven is trying to maybe open up the king side a little bit. So if Jolie's able to reroute the knight to the king side, it could be another defensive piece. Yeah, but I think also a5 just straight away would have been quite reasonable. Something like a5, b5, and then yeah, then there's a lot of things that could have happened here. I still think maybe we could just try for this d4 push because we have 1, 2, 3 defenders and only 2 attackers. So yeah, so I think just d4 might have been fine. All right, but anyway, go back to the game. We had knight e2, and then bishop takes h3. And then, yeah, here Jolie's, I think her internet or something with the Chess Kids server is kind of frustrating. It seems like the server is not particularly great. So yeah, here unfortunately the game got abandoned and Steven was the winner because I guess Jolie unfortunately had the side that disconnected. But yeah, here I think that white is just completely winning. So it looks like there's some kind of attack here, but there's really nothing. So I think what Steven is hoping for is to take and then put like the maybe put the knight on g4 here, and maybe say that he's going to try to checkmate on h2 in the future, even though this square is defended by the knight. But yeah, I don't think this is going to happen. Like the white king looks weak because we lost 2 of our pawns, but it's actually like really safe here. So like if you want to take away like even any of checks for black here, a move like knight h2 is perfectly sound. So the idea is like you're offering a queen trade. Which remember, when you're the side that's up material, these trades are good. And especially since Steven's plan was to try to checkmate you by opening up the position. If you could like get a queen trade here, you're just much better. And yeah, I think that I think you're just good and even if the queen retreats. So maybe something like queen h6 we could play. Here we could even play like bishop takes. And if the queen takes, we have ideas of like knight g4. So now we're attacking the queen and we're attacking the this pawn as well, and so we have 2 attackers on. We have 2 attackers on the h6 pawn and only 1 defender. So maybe something like queen h4 might be a move, and then I think we just play queen g3, trying to trade the queens off again. And yeah, here I think we're just doing quite well. Like at some point we could play like king g2 and move our rook over to the half-open h file with a pretty nice attack. So yeah, and if they play something like queen g5, we could even play like f4 here, attacking the queen again. So this is another tempo move. And yeah, already you can see the queen is kind of getting short of squares. Like now the queen can only go to h5 safely. And then here after king g2 with the idea of rook h1, I think we're trapping the queen. And it's not so easy to deal with that threat. Like if they play g5 to give an escape square, here we could just play f5, taking the escape square away. And yeah, if they play queen h4 here, then again, we're just happy to trade the queens off. And we just have a better position. We're just winning because we have 2 minor pieces versus 1. And this pawn is extremely weak. So here we just go rook h1. The only way to defend the pawn is to play bishop f6, but we control that square, so we could just take. And then we take here, and we're just completely winning. So Yeah, so I'm extremely disappointed about the abandonment. Not only because Jolie was playing a good game, but I feel like she could have used some experience and what to do in this particular situation, and we could have like talked about it together and learned from it. So it was like, yeah, it was unfortunate, but Jolie's like got one of the best spirits of anyone that I've. She's just always in a good mood. So yeah, we talked about it. She said, at least I played a good game up to this point, and she seemed like eager to keep improving. So I thought that was great. I think she took it in stride. Probably I wouldn't have taken it as well as she did, to be honest. I would have liked to have continued the game, of course. Um, yeah, but here, yeah, here in this position, I think that White is just much better. Like, I think Steven like maybe could try some stuff. Like he did think that he's just like weakening the king so much, but the king is actually quite safe. Like even if you can get this, even if we allow this check, so with the knight on e2 being able to go to g3, and the bishop can also go back to g3, we just have like a really nice game here as white. I mean, we're just up a piece. We're only down one pawn for the piece, and even though it looks like once again that our king is weak, it's actually pretty safe because we have a lot of pieces like in the area of the king side, and there's really only the black queen that's attacking. So with these four defensive pieces, and also the ability for the king to just go to g2 if it needs to, there's really nothing going on here that should worry white at all. So yeah, so I thought this was an excellent played game. Like once again, I really like the way Steven played. I think he's a really polished player from my experience. Every game I've seen him play seems quite logical, and he makes a lot of strong moves. And I think Jolie just deserves like a ton of credit for this game. Like when I see this game compared to I think like her second or third round game, it's just like wow, like this is the potential she has. We need more games like this and less games like that round. Once again like round 2 or 3 game. But yeah, Jolie could. I think Jolie, if she likes chess a lot and keeps with it, but she could be really good. But she's got like yeah, she's a really well rounded kid. She's got like a lot of things that she's really passionate and good at. I actually know her from like another learning facility, and I remember she was telling me about some project how she's gonna like save our water quality and all these things. And I know when I was like her age, I wasn't thinking about these things. So I was like, wow, this is pretty neat that she knows about this. So and then yeah, her brother Josen is also doing extremely well. They're both really nice kids, and yeah. Anyway, that's an aside, but yeah, but I think Jolie showed like a ton of potential in this game. So yeah, hopefully we just keep working at it, and I think. Yeah, I think the sky's the limit for both her and her brother, and Steven's already got like a playing at a really high level. So yeah, if we can get more games like this in the tournament, this would just be fantastic. And then yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed. Jonathan, Vincent, great job as well. Thanks for participating. I know your games are gonna get much. I've seen you guys play much better games than the first one. So I know I make these videos to try to be critical. I apologize if it comes across that way sometimes, but I do just I feel like it is my responsibility to help you guys get as good as you can be. So I think like one of the reasons why you want to get a test teacher is so they can kind of give you some shortcuts. Like like I played this way a long time ago. This is why it's bad. Like this is how I can show you like how to play better chess. So that's all the point of the videos are, is just to give you some suggestions on how to improve. And yeah, the thing we just need to keep focusing on is getting our pieces developed and controlling the center squares. I know I've been saying this for months now, but I'm going to keep saying it until we do it, because there's basically like hundreds of years of experience now saying that like that's the best way to play chess. So yeah, we'll keep working on it, and the improvement will come. It might seem slow at times, but then one day you're like, wow, we just improved so quickly, and you probably won't even realize it. You'll just be like, oh, I know what to do now, and I've improved a lot. So yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to upload the video now, and then I'm going to try to get the last game done so I could. I need a break, to be honest. I made a lot of videos, and I like to relax a little bit. But yeah, thanks again, and I'm excited for the next video, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the series. All right, thanks for watching.